All right, all right. We're back at it. We're in Belmar today, and we have a special guest, Mr. Aaron Levine. Not from Maroon 5, but the other Aaron Levine, the real cool one, from LG Insurance, where who you work with matters.
Love that tagline. I mean, because it does.
It does. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to finally get a spot over here on the Grit Won't Quit. Grit Won't Quit. Wow, tongue tied already.
I'm glad that you filled out your form because without the form you don't get on. I'm glad that you were able to do that for us. And you're all branded today. You got your sweatshirt on. You got the coffee mugs today.
I learned from you. I mean,
what
what can I say?
I love it. Everything wingman. Even the blue wall.
I should have worn my wingman shirt. Would have been better. But I gotta wear my colors. I gotta represent.
I got it. So you're the man. So I think today is going to be a great conversation after going through your stuff and knowing who you are and what you're doing. You have a lot going on. So you've been in business how long?
So I started this insurance agency. Gosh, it was I incorporated in 2007.
Okay.
I incorporated before I knew what I wanted to do, because
Do you
I
know
had
what
an
you want to
idea.
do now?
I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Right? That's my favorite question to ask people, especially when I'm interviewing. It's what do you want to do when you grow up? Because I still don't know, and that's the beauty of it, right? We keep evolving, keep working, and keeping growing, keep that passion alive. That's the only way to evolve and to continue. Hence, what you're doing with the podcast and all the video work that you're doing, which is phenomenal, and I can't keep up with it all.
Hit that like button and share it.
Makes me a little bit jealous sometimes. I'm like, there's Tom again doing another video. I'm like, and here's my lazy ass not, getting enough video content out there. But
I have to get told to do it. Like, I might own the company, but my guys are like, Tom, we need you to do a video today. Hey, what do we got? What are we posting? And Taylor, that is, works in our digital department, she's always on me to get more content.
That's great.
And anytime I'm with Andrew by our, like at a podcast, she's like, after you're done with the podcast, have Andrew, shoot this and this and this. So poor guy shot four podcasts, and then she wants him to shoot more videos. So
I don't know how you have the energy for it. I mean, it's just, You enjoy it.
I enjoy it. I enjoy every day what I do. I love, again, do I have bad days? I certainly do. But I love what I do. To me, it's not, I don't go to work.
Right.
I'm going to Wingman, and we're going to help customers. We're going to do things. We're going to utilize technology to our advantage.
Right. And you've got a great team behind you, right?
We do.
Handling the day-to-day so you can do the fun stuff, like be on camera all day, every day.
But although I don't know that everybody thinks that's the fun stuff. So you go back to 2007. So now you're a young guy. You're in your early 20s, I'm sure, in 2007.
Right. So I'm in my early 20s. It's 2007. I'm in grad school at the time.
Where'd you go to grad school?
I went to grad school at Monmouth. Got my MBA from Monmouth. Graduated there in 2008.
Okay.
With my MBA. So while I was in grad school, I also got real estate licensed, insurance licensed. So I got all my licensing. So I did a ton of schooling while also working full time. I was lucky enough, my family owned the Windmill restaurants, so I was working with the family, doing a lot of managerial stuff, trying to do some growth and branding and creating opportunities within the restaurants while I was going to grad school at night. So really Monmouth worked out to be a great thing, but I knew I needed more, right? And I did this in 2000, and I graduated from undergrad in 2002, had a great corporate job right out of school. I'm like, this is awesome. Then I'm like, this sucks. I can do it better myself. Then I went broke really fast.
That's every entrepreneur. I could do it better myself.
I could do it better myself. And I went broke really fast. I took a job somewhere else as a salesman thinking I could do something more on a national scale, and that worked out not very well. But everything's a great learning opportunity. But anyway.
Stepping stones.
2007, incorporated. The business legal name is A. Levine Financial Services. Broad, big umbrella. And nobody really knows what the true LLC name is for the business, because they see LG Insurance Agency, they see the luxury group, and they see some of the other branding, and nothing's branded A. Levine anymore. I do still have my old logos on file. The original script A. Levine Financial, which was on my window in Brighton Avenue in Long Branch when I had my first office, which I opened in 2009.
Okay.
So I was in grad school doing the real estate thing. 2008 didn't work out so well on the real estate side, and I realized that insurance is recession-proof, and it's a commodity, right? I started out selling a commodity because I knew everybody needed it. Everybody's required to purchase this by the government your landlord, or your lender. Most people don't buy it by choice, although a lot of people do, and especially as you get bigger businesses, you realize the risks and you want to transfer those risks to an insurance carrier for a premium amount. But in the beginning, it was like, let's sell some stuff because people need it. People like me. They're going to buy from me. It's not that difficult.
And that's how you paid the rent.
Eventually, I paid the rent. I had to choose sometimes between paying the rent and the electric bill and the phone bill. I always paid the phone bill.
The phone bill needed to get paid.
Phone bill was always paid. The electric bill, the electric went off once or twice. The rent got paid because I also didn't want to have an issue with the landlord.
Yeah.
But the electric bill was one that kind of...
that was the last
I could be back at my parents' house and on the computer because
sure.
I didn't have employees in 09. In 09 I started hiring and very slowly and very cheaply finding labor.
It would have been funny if you were working at the windmill to write an insurance there.
I mean, of course I was. What do you think I was doing on weekends to be able to pay for it, right?
Exactly.
Why do so many teachers also bartend and have summer jobs? Right? Everybody's you got to have a side hustle. Now my side hustle is totally different than insurance being the side hustle. But I love always having a little bit of a side hustle, having a little bit of other opportunity out there. Mm-hmm. And I don't fault anybody for doing it. My employees are allowed to do that as long as it doesn't interfere with their day to day. If they want to have a hobby and turn that hobby into a revenue stream,
you're good with it.
More power to them.
Yeah,
I love that creativity. Why not?
They're less likely to ask you for a raise.
Still ask for raises. It's raise season right
now.
So
I also saw on social in the last week or so that you have a new hire.
We added to our team.
What number is that?
Natalie is number 13 on the team right now. We also reduced. We're down one, so we went plus one, minus one, and now we're figuring out where the next one is going to be. I have some job descriptions that I'm working with my assistant on right now.
And you promoted your assistant to a higher level assistant, correct?
We took our office manager she came in and she says, I just want to do admin work when she was hired. And she doesn't remember saying this, but I remind her all the time.
How long ago was this?
She's going on her third year now. And she was just promoted to be my executive assistant. So she's doing a lot more work, helping out more higher level stuff in the office. And I'm like, you remember you said you only wanted to be an admin. I'm like, you're technically kind of still an admin, but now you have a lot more responsibility. And Noelle's doing great with all of that.
Fantastic.
Helping with some of our higher level needs, working with the staff. We got a new employee handbook out, right? We're turning into a big boy company, which is good and bad.
It's good and bad. We have the handbook, and I like the handbook because it gives everybody, it's the Bill of Rights, right? It tells them what you're expected to do, what you're going to expect from us, the employer. But at the same time, the old way of hustling was different and more fun in its own way. But I think that as time grows and as you grow the business, I think that that's important.
Yeah, when you have 4 or 5 employees, you know everything in your head. I remember the day. I don't know what day it was, but I remember there was a day that came and I'm like, I don't remember anything. We got to 2,000 clients and I'm like, I don't remember anything anymore.
Yep.
Everything's got to be, data's got to be in the systems and documented and
backed up.
That's when I'm like, all right, the company's got to change, although our culture is still very free and willing and open, and we want everybody to get along, right? Mm-hmm. It's really, the team is number one. If the team's getting along great, we're going to do great for our customers. So the book that I'm reading right now, it's called Setting the Table by Danny Meyer, right? U.S. Hospitality Group. He owns a bunch of famous restaurants in New York, Union Square Cafe, Blue Smoke, Gramercy Tavern, and then there was others. Shake Shack is his.
Wow.
So his biggest thing is enlightened hospitality, right? It's how to provide not just transactional service to your customers. And I'm like, how do we transfer this into the insurance world? And it's really the emotional connection. And he says team members are number 1 on the list, then your guests are number 2 on the list. So if the team's getting along, well, the guest experience is going to be better.
Yeah.
And that goes for any business owner. Just sometimes takes, a book to
it's hard to
get it into your head, and you're like, oh, I know this, but I didn't know it.
When you say it, it's easy, but when you on the day to day, it's harder. You always, I think we all want to make customers happy.
Yeah,
but we have to make sure that everyone.
How do you do it?
On the team is happy.
How does it happen? We all do it inherently. But when you have somebody put it down in a book and you're like, this is simple. Now there's a name, there's a title to it, there's a way to call it out.
Now, you're an avid reader, correct?
I'm an avid Audible listener.
That's like reading. That's 2024's version of reading.
I was so slow on picking up the Audible. Like, people are like, oh, do this book on Audible. I'm like, it's not reading, it's cheating, right? It's not Cliff's Notes. And then one day last year, 2023, it was September or August or July, in the middle of the summer. I'm like, you know what? I got a long drive. I had to drive to Connecticut, so I had 3.5 hours each way. So I found a book, story branding, another great book, really just about the brand of you and how to really put it together in a story. How do you tell your story, right? What's the wingman story? What's the LG story? And how do you really get it out there? And I'm like, this is pretty good. And I've just been nonstop with the Audible headphones in for at least an hour a day, whether I'm out for a walk or I'm doing something else. I'm focused on some of these books, and there's a lot of good ones out there. So I'm an avid Audible listener is how I'm getting my reading in, and then I still like to have the hard copy books. So I'm buying the books also.
Just so you have them.
I got both.
Just want to prove to people that you did read it. So
it's better for the photo.
You and I saw each other at an event not too long ago, and I picked up. You gave me a book, an Audible book, and I have. I'm almost finished with it.
Okay.
And it's 10x is easier than 2x. It's game changing.
Are you hooked?
I'm hooked. It's really good. And now there's another book in that series,
there's two of them,
which I will be starting to listen to after I finish this. But I think it's a great mindset. And again, when you talk about that executive assistant,
right,
that kind of comes out of that book too.
It comes out of that book. The next book that you're going to read is Who Not How, and this is Dan Sullivan, the strategic coach. You can look up the strategic coach on Instagram, and they have a lot of good stuff. And then the guy that actually writes the book is Dr. Benjamin Hardy, I believe is his name. And he's a phenomenal author, and he's writing all of these books for Dan, basically.
Yeah. Well, Dan doesn't want to write the books.
Dan doesn't want to write the books. It's not his game.
I thought that was great, too.
Right?
And he said he wants to do 30 books. He's like,
I'm going to write 30 books, but I'm not going to write the books. I'm going to write the story of the books and give you the ideas, and you go fill it out.
But that makes total sense after we catch up, and you tell me this, and now the executive assistant, which I think is great. Like, I think that you're putting these things right into practice.
Getting the people into the right seats is also another thing. That's Traction is the name of that book, is getting the right people in the right seats, which is something that I've been trying to work on as well. It's very difficult, but Who Not How is the next book you're going to read, which is the one that I gave to Noelle in my office to read, which talks about bringing the right people to help you, because we can't do it alone, right? Which is also this Who You Works With Matters. I've been using that hashtag for years, but I never knew what it really meant until I read these books. Takes it to a whole nother dimension.
Yep.
And I know we're going to talk that I'm rebranding my podcast to be the Who You Works With Matters podcast, and I think this is the first time that I'm announcing it to the metaverse.
You heard it here first. You heard it on Grit Won't Quit. That's awesome. So tell us about that.
So this will be my third or fourth podcast iteration, because I've been doing different podcasts.
That's where we first met.
Throughout.
We first met at with Jeremy at
Jeremy Margolis at Beast Equipment's
no,
grand opening.
I thought it was the Rocco's grand opening was the first time I met you, and then you did the Beast one too.
It was either Rocco's or whichever
Beast
came
and Bradley,
first.
yeah.
I think the Beast and Bradley.
Okay.
Where I had my marketing person at the time, Andrew Talcott, OK7, great genius mind when it comes to marketing. Also a phenomenal interviewer. He's been doing podcasting before podcasting was mainstream, and I jumped on his show once during COVID, and then I never left. I kept showing up every week, and I kept bringing on guests. I'm like, this is awesome.
Was
he
cool with that?
He loved it, because I kept bringing guests in, and he would do the interviewing. I would be part of it. I was like a little sidekick co-host, maybe a large sidekick co-host. And so we were doing that. It was a totally local podcast, which was a lot of fun. So I did like 30 episodes of that with him. Then we went into the And Insurance podcast, which was the LG branded podcast, where basically I took professionals and we talked about their business models and how they do it. And then I always tied insurance back into it. So it was very insurance centric. It was very business centric, but it was always had that insurance twist. And now I want to separate the podcasting from the insurance space, from this business, and make it stand on its own. I've got my own domain. I need you to build me a website, and I want to take it to a whole nother level. And a lot of it's going to happenstance be based around these 3 books of the people that we surround ourselves with, the people that we rely on, whether we're growing up and we have mentors or we're older in business and we have mentors. And it's, having the right people surrounding you to elevate you to be successful, because Army of One just doesn't.
It only can go so far.
You can only quote unquote hustle so much.
Yep.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
I hate the social media hustlers. They just annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done it. We all have to do it. You just don't have to tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
Hustle quietly. Don't hustle loudly. But then when you can surround yourself with the right people.
I like to say, stay humble and hustle hard.
I like that.
That's a famous line. Stay humble, hustle hard. I added to it for my own staff and my own self. Remember where you came from. Mm-hmm. Don't get ahead of yourself, and don't be cool about it. You hit success, and success for everybody's different. But you hit that level of success, you don't have to let everybody brag about it. Just do it, and be cool about it, and help others. And
right.
I think that the next kind of, and I kind of see it in you. We have the same kind of mindset and philosophy on this. Is my goal is to elevate my guys.
Right.
My job isn't to be, everything be about Tom. It's about to be wingman. And the more that we grow, I want it to be less about Tom and more about the team. And again, when you think about, your end game strategy, my end game strategy, the more that it's not about Aaron and Tom, the better the business is going to.
The only Tom that ever got away with using his name to be really, really successful is that shoe guy.
Also, for a while, MySpace.
MySpace Tom.
Remember that guy in MySpace Tom? Everybody got a friend when you first joined MySpace, but that kind of died out. So maybe you don't want to be that Tom anymore. But yeah, I think that as we grow and as we become older, we want to become the mentors for our younger team and our team that's going into these positions that we've grown from. Again, we've both grown from 0 employees up to the teens, and the idea is that we want to grow those teams and make them be self-sufficient and be here. I said at my Christmas party, I want to be their coach. I don't want to be the MVP of the team. I want Nicole to be the MVP, or Dave or Andrew or Taylor or Madison. I don't want to be the MVP. I want to be your coach. So I want you to handle the day-to-day work. I want you to talk to the customer. I want you to come up with the strategy, and then come to me and say, hey, what do you think of this? Mm-hmm. Would you make any tweaks from your experience?
Right.
And that's, I think, the goal of. Well, that's my goal. I mean, I don't want to tell you your goal, but I think as you grow and as I hear your story and what you tell, how you're doing things, I think you kind of had that mindset that you want to grow a team.
So I have an organizational chart. It's a 2025 org chart, and I'm not like a New Year's resolution kind of person, but I've been putting in this extra work, and I have a 2025 org chart. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm not one of those. I don't invert it, but I'm still me on the top. But I'm removing myself from the business, and I'm letting my teams know, and I essentially have 2 teams, a commercial team and a personal team, and they're all very good. And when I stick my nose in, I wind up getting in the way more often than not, right? But I want to be there.
That's
for
always the way.
High level opportunities and larger enterprise businesses. And if anybody needs to have a conversation with me, I like to always be available. I started the business writing $250 renters insurance policies. I want to be able to help the small guy, the small gal, the person starting out, if they want help. Now, there's plenty of people out there that don't want any help. They think they're smarter than us, and they're going to go online and buy stuff. That's not our clientele. Somebody that's starting out and wants our advice, wants to pay for our advice, yeah, we're still going to do great with getting the best pricing available in the marketplace. Our goal is to grow with you. Mm-hmm. My favorite story to tell is a client called Owl's Brew. They're a national alcoholic beverage brand, and I started with them when the ladies, they were then girls, were selling loose leaf tea I forget the name of the company at the time, but they're on their third or fourth iteration of their business that started as a hobby of selling loose leaf tea on the internet. And now they have a nationally selling alcoholic canned beverage that's a tea-based beverage, which is really, really good. Check out Boozy Tea is the name, but they started out just selling loose leaf tea. So I've grown with them from their Manhattan apartments as a hobby that needed some insurance for an Etsy shop or whatever it was, to now selling a great nationally distributed brand. Like those are cool
That's
stories
really
to tell.
cool story.
So I like when I get a business owner that's interested and wants to grow and develop, not just somebody says, I need it cheap, I need it quick and dirty,
Yep.
that's going to just try to cut corners to make a buck. That's not our client.
There's a lot of people that need insurance, especially for a business.
Right.
Give the rundown of, like, when you think about that business that comes in and says, Aaron or Aaron's team, I need business insurance. There's multiple policies that they should be looking at.
And that's the consultative part of it, is we want to make sure we're part of the conversation, and we want to insure it all. We want to add value. Yes, we need to make money, but the more policies we have for you
Under management.
the better we're going to be able to do, because the more we're going to know. The minute you start breaking it apart and going elsewhere, well, we don't know what you're doing over here.
And then
Right.
you have the right coverages.
So you take we're going to take Wingman Planning. We're going to do this for you right now. And I don't currently control your insurance, but you have a business owner's policy which covers you for your general liability for your 2 locations. You own the building in Manasquan, so you have a building policy over there. That's 2. You most likely have a professional liability policy which covers you for the work that you're doing, right? As marketing and branding professionals, you still need something that's going to cover you for the work that goes out there. We're not worried about slip and fall and bodily injury. That's all the little stuff. But the work that's being put out on people's shirts, logos, websites, if something goes wrong, it can come back and haunt you. You want to have a cyber liability policy that's going to protect you if there's some kind of data breach, or if you're managing someone's website and somebody gets in on your end and the website goes down, you want to protect yourself from that liability. Because if someone's an e-commerce client and their website goes down, they can't make any money, right? That's like the hurricane coming through the Jersey Shore and all the restaurants can't open for business, right? So you want to have that cyber policy, workers' compensation to protect you and your employees. Probably want to have an employment practices liability policy, which is going to protect you from your employees and also third parties when it comes to harassment and discrimination and wrongful termination. But I'm sure you've seen it. There's people that have gotten sued, and they're very notable web stories for websites that are not ADA compatible, right? There's been some famous ones out there for a website that doesn't have
the big pizza
the
place.
adaptability reader on it for somebody that is challenged, whether it's visually or hearing impaired, or those are real lawsuits. And if you don't build someone's website correctly, that can come back to you, and it's going to come back to your customer as well. In the past, there was people that used to be hired, disabled persons that would be hired by lawyers to go roll their wheelchairs, and if there's no accessible ramp or no accessible bathroom, the restaurants or the places of public accommodation would get sued for not being accommodating to those that need accommodations. Now it's all done virtually.
Yep.
But it used to be somebody in a wheelchair couldn't get into an establishment, and then the establishment would get sued. So that's employment practices liability actually covers you from those third-party issues as well. So I think we're at like 7 insurance policies right now. Did I miss any?
No, honestly, I think, and I think I have them all, which is the craziest part. I go back to when I was just hustling, and
Right.
I didn't have insurance at the first year or 2 that I was in business. And again, I think the next one that I see myself getting is the commercial insurance when we wrap a vehicle and put that on the road.
Commercial auto, you need to have your mobile billboard.
To me, like we have a guy who works for us that is it's kind of does a little bit of everything for us, and when he's running back and forth to Manasquan to Belmont, he comes at least once a day. Like, it just makes sense at some point to get that in the fleet, to get a vehicle,
Put it in the fleet.
just because of
Just the back and forth. Just being parked in Belmar Plaza with
We'll get you.
another
We'll get you
vehicle.
leads.
You park on Main Street instead of parking in the parking
Yeah.
lot, and it's just going to create more opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I mean,
You know-
that's why you have this beautiful sign behind you, not so people can see it through the window, but so everybody sees it on camera.
I like this blue wall so much with the wingman on it that in Manasquan I ripped down the wall in our conference room and I'm in the process of putting this in, which is
I saw that. It's
It's
pretty
actually
cool.
happening. The drywall went up on Wednesday, and they put in the first coat of spackle
No
and
way.
tape and spackle on it today.
Although I did like the exposed brick. You posted
Yeah.
a photo of the brick. I'm like, the brick is kind of nice. You really,
You know what?
You should have gone with a dimensional wingman sign over the exposed brick.
Yeah. It's also going to keep it a little warmer not having that brick. But all right. So I mean, when you think about it, and most business owners have to think about that as you're growing and scaling and trying to continue to grow. I think Aaron is right. Like, I don't love paying the insurance bill. It's not one of my favorite bills to pay.
I don't like paying my own insurance bill. I'm just as guilty.
But I think it's part of the strategy. And I think you said something earlier. It's diversifying that risk, pushing that risk off to an insurance policy.
It's transferring the risk, right? You don't want to. You can transfer it to an insurance company, or you can start saving and put it off to the side yourself. And nobody does that.
No.
Right? When it comes to retirement planning, if it's not automatically taken out of my paycheck, I'm not sending it. Same thing with the insurance. The insurance premiums just need to be automatic.
Yep.
It's a cost of doing business. It's a risk transfer. It's always an expense line. Nobody likes paying it. Nobody wants to be overinsured or paying too much. I get it. But when it hits the fan, you're thankful that you have the coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can never buy insurance to protect you from everything. That's a misnomer out there. People think, I bought insurance, I'm good. No, you're not. There's still issues that can arise that we can insure for, or it's not worth paying for because they're a little out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really that conversation when we get into somebody that cares about their business and what they're doing and protecting themselves and their family, because everything that you have is potentially on the risk. There was a News 12 thing this week or last week. A worker died at a recycling plant in Lakewood. I don't know any of the details around it, right? But were the right safety precautions in place? Do they have enough insurance? Because if the owner was negligent in their safety management and there was OSHA violations and other issues going on previously, the owner is going to be sued personally for negligence,
Yeah.
and he's not going to have insurance for that
Yep.
in most cases, right? So you can never have enough insurance to protect you from everything, and being safe and doing the right things is going to be important. And for you, we talked about adding a vehicle to the fleet, which is a marketing opportunity. But if something happens to your employee while they're running errands back and forth in the vehicle owned by the company, you're better protected than you are when they're in their own personal vehicle.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
So you have an added layer of protection,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously comes at a cost. But besides the branding, there's the added protection that comes with it. So there's different ways to look at it. And when I get involved with larger businesses, it takes on a whole another life. And we add technology into the management of it, because larger businesses, as you're established and you have more employees, then you have to care. You're going to care. Hopefully, you're going to care more, and you're going to pay people to do the caring for you to make sure you have the safety management programs in place. And then we have different technologies that we add into, some of our enterprise businesses, with a couple hundred employees to a couple thousand employees. They're going to do things differently.
Oh, sure.
You're going to have different teams in place when it comes to management and human resources, and
It's like we just said,
that's
from
really fun too.
from one employee to where we are now, we're doing things differently.
Right.
So as we grow to that next scale, we're going to do things differently. So those larger enterprises are definitely doing it.
They're going to do things they're going to do things a lot different, and they're going to have different levels of management in place that need to all be working together. So I'm putting a technology in place for a large business right now, which helps us coordinate and manage workers' compensation claims, and where everybody can enter data into a single system. So if I'm getting information from the insurance company, I can make sure it's in there. The employer can add it in there. Everybody can go to one central hub, which is huge to be able to share data in one place and not have to, I use Gmail for everything. We're a Google Workspace, so I'm Google searching my email all the time. If I can go to one place and I know where it is,
Yeah,
that's great.
Oh, yeah. Let me ask. So you started to talk about this org chart. So how much bigger is the org chart in 2025 currently in your planning 12 months from now?
So it's a little bit bigger. It's not much bigger. I think my goal is to add 3 people.
Okay.
Because I have, 10x is easier than 2x, right? So I have a 2x plan for 2024, but it's building 2024 so 2025 can be that 10x year. So I'm building this year,
putting the roadblocks in
so that we're ready when I turn the faucet on for 2025. Everybody's ready to go.
Good.
Which is also it's an investment, right? Both financial and more of my time. But if I want to get to a certain level, and I want to provide that level of hospitality throughout the organization, I have to put certain pieces in place, right? I need to remove myself. So my title in the org chart is visionary, which comes from the book, Gino Wickman's book, Traction, right? I want to be the visionary. I want to be the leader and help the teams grow. And, then I need operations people, finance people, and I need a more robust marketing department internally to be able to do that. So I'm thinking there's going to be 4 people added between now and the middle of 2025.
Great.
Right? Both on the org side, and then I need to get the marketing team to be more robust. Somebody to force me to do more video work would be great.
Don't call Andrew. Don't call Taylor. They're not available.
I'm going to put a job ad right in your window. No.
Listen, if you want to use them to do a project, that's fine. If you want to try to hire them to work at LG, that's not fine.
I can't afford your people. They're too good for me.
And now going back to the podcast. So when do you want to start that up? When's that going to start rolling?
I'm behind schedule. I really think we need to talk offline, and I think I need to get you guys working on the website. Right? I have ideas. I want to build a form that people are going to fill out to be on the podcast. Right?
The form is great.
Cool. So easy.
It gets a lot of information out there, so that when you get on the podcast,
right.
Not a lot of the people that have been on the podcast, I know in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Some people I do business with, some people I met through networking, some people I just know, some people are clients. But but it's also some people it's hard to pull information out of.
Right.
If you've watched some of them, some people are very easygoing, like this is an easy conversation
Sure.
today. But there's been some people where it was a struggle to get some,
right.
And they're guarded and they're shielded, and they're like, one guy said to me, I can't tell you that. And I'm like, why are you here? Like, this is a tough one. Like,
wow.
But on the same side, like, you coming on the podcast, you want to kind of tell your story. It's a slam dunk to talk about
right.
your business. And,
See, I also have nothing to hide, right? I'm not one that is like, oh, my secret sauce, I can't tell you. No. I'm gonna spit it all out. I'm gonna put everything into the universe, because that's the only way anything gets done, right? I'm a firm believer, and I'm not gonna give away everything that I'm doing, but I want to get enough out there, because I'm gonna get feedback. Every little conversation I have about who you work with matters, and the podcast, I get a little more feedback, and I also get my own ideas going as I'm talking about it.
You definitely get ideas. I mean, you've done the podcast. You've done 3 podcasts. So you're no rookie to this, but I can tell you, just by having some conversations, I've thought about things a little bit differently.
Right.
I've implemented some things that I've heard on the podcast. And, when you're in your own world, you're kind of doing your own thing. And, again, if I'm only talking to Wingman employees and customers, or if you're only talking to LG, like,
right.
you don't have that perspective of, oh, someone else is doing something else. We had a conversation with a guy from Brooklyn who was in a similar business to mine, and he told me some stuff on LinkedIn that he's doing, and I was like, wow, I'm missing the boat on that one.
Right.
And and he said to me, he goes, you're no slouch on LinkedIn. You have 14,000 contacts, but you're not posting a lot. And we don't. We use
right.
a lot of as you said, you do a lot of video. So we do a lot of Facebook, we do Instagram, and we do a lot of TikTok. We haven't. And I said to Taylor, Taylor, I hope you're listening to this one. I want to get into more LinkedIn in 2024, especially because we're
right.
a B2B service. I think that there's an opportunity for that. But again, we got to come up with a strategy and a plan, and not just start posting stuff that's not going to hit.
The message for LinkedIn is supposed to be a little bit different than what you're definitely different than what you're putting on TikTok, like, but but even slightly modified from what you're putting on Instagram and Facebook, right? IG and Facebook, all right, fine. I don't care if you put the same stuff on there. TikTok, who cares? But LinkedIn, it's a little bit more targeted, because you have a different different clientele you're looking at, but those people are also on Instagram and
Yeah.
and
I think
doom scrolling everywhere.
Yeah. I think you have to change the message. You have to look at that message differently. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity within LinkedIn, but you got to know what you're doing, because I get spammed with a ton of messages all day on LinkedIn, and no one's sold me from it. So like, you have to think about what that message looks like, and it's more about kind of start to follow us and start to see what we're doing, rather than trying to. I love when you accept a connection on LinkedIn and they hammer you with a sales pitch that's like 5 paragraphs long, and I'm like,
how many job offers I get on LinkedIn?
So if LG doesn't work out, you got to spot.
And sometimes I play along. I'm like, all right, my minimum required base salary is $250,000. If you can accommodate that, I'll come in for an interview. Crickets. You catch people off guard, especially these low-level recruiters.
Yeah.
I'm like, you did not look at my profile. You don't know anything about me. You didn't look at the business. Right, you just think I'm an insurance producer because that's potentially what the AI flags it to be.
That is funny. Like, no one reads, like, when they say
it's all bot based.
Yeah, that's the hard part about that, because it's just, you got to break through that noise, because that noise is just
right. I have a friend of mine who uses his middle initial on his LinkedIn profile, so when it's a bot, it'll always come through with the middle initial in the message.
Yeah.
It'll say, "Hey, so and so, middle initial, so and so." Then he knows it's automated because it's not "Hey David," it's "Hey David initial," right?
Yep.
So I'm like, that's pretty smart.
That is really clever.
Because if you don't use it anywhere else, if it's automated. Yeah. It's a bot that's going to pick that up and put that in there. Or you put an emoji in your name somewhere.
Quick to hit the delete button.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise, but if you post good, valuable posting content. And I wrote a story the other day about a charity event that I was at, and I took a photo that I was sponsoring it with the dealer at the craps table because it was a casino night, and then I did a little write-up about casino gambling and insurance, right? So I did a little, how do we tie craps into insurance? I did a little post like that. Those kind of things I like. I don't do them often enough, but those are LinkedIn gold.
Yeah.
When you tie something in like that, so you have community plus business plus a story, works out really nice.
Awesome. From a community standpoint, what have you been doing locally? Because I know you've been involved with chambers of commerce and some organizations. What's in store for 2024?
Good question. I've had a lot of board seats in the past. I'm still involved on chambers of commerce. So the Greater Long Branch Chamber of Commerce, I've been the president. I did a lot of work with Fulfill, the food bank of Monmouth and Ocean counties in the past. I've been, I'm getting ready to write a check for sponsorship for Chef Lou's Army for the upcoming golf outing, April 24th, 5th, somewhere around there at Manasquan River Country Club.
Are you a golfer yourself?
I'm a golfer. I like playing golf.
Are you going to play that day?
I play every year. It's one of my favorite events of the year. Lou and his team put on a phenomenal event. You've been there, right?
I've been there I'm not really a golfer, so I've been
hanging out at the bar.
And my team, we've done the video work for that event a couple of years.
So I remember, and Joe Leone is right. He's a good friend of Lou's.
Yep.
And he used to be out there vending, and you just had him on the podcast, right?
Joe was on the podcast.
Joe was on the podcast.
A few weeks ago.
Right. So he was always, when there's good food out on the golf course at Manasquan River, it's a great day. But I plan on writing a nice sponsorship check, because feeding people, it's been in my DNA forever to help those in need. My family with the windmill, we've done, countless charitable events and organizations, and I've always been a part of it. Like, I grew up, it was always part of my DNA, and it still is. I love helping the community where I can and where it makes sense. My children's school, the food related hunger organizations I'm very passionate about. You don't want kids to go hungry,
no.
Right? Like, we all talk about the kids. The seniors are a huge community that need help. So I'm always out looking to support the community, because that's one of our pillars to the business. Right? Is the community is definitely there.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I think we've talked about a lot of topics. Is there any last minute things you want to tell the entrepreneurs and business owners that
Did we talk about grit? I don't even know if we talked about grit.
The grit came up in the story of you paying the electric bill or not paying the electric bill. I think when you think about all that we've talked about, like you've overcome and you went from a one-man operation to a teen operation of employees, and you're going to now scale it in this year. So I think I love your story. I think it's a great story. I think I'm inspired by you. I watch you, and I'm glad that we've started to talk about these books, because I have not been a avid reader, or I've had Audible for years on my phone, and I never really stick to it. Like I'll listen to something for a few hours, I'll get motivated, and then I get busy. But I think as I continue to grow, I think from this 10x to 2x is that's starting to make me really think about, like, you got to put people in the place to do the work. Like, they can't call me for every edit or change or what to do. I want to empower people to do their job so well that, like I said, I'm the coach.
Right. No, that's great. And I try to designate, if I can get myself a half an hour or an hour a day of quiet time, not on my phone, not on email, and listen to a book. And it's in the car too. I drive 20 minutes. I drove 20 minutes to get here. I was listening to Danny Meyer setting the table, right? I've got 20 minutes back to the office. I'm going to listen to the book. I'm not going to pick up the phone. I'm going to wait to pick up the phone until I get to the office, because I want to hear what's next. So if I get that half hour to an hour a day, whether it's driving or if I put the earbuds in and I go for a walk, I find the walking really helps clear your mind a lot. So I've been doing that, except, today in the rain.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable, and there's some good ones out there, and there's, I have other people that are reading the same book, so there's different text messages that can go back and forth.
Great.
So you find that once you find that your little book club.
Wednesday at LG at 12 o'clock, we're gonna have a book club meeting.
There will be vodka and tequila, though. I guarantee you that.
Funny.
If you want to have a book club meeting.
Before we sign off, let people know where to find you on your website, your Insta, your Facebook, and
yeah, so on the Instagram, it's at Luxury Group INS. You can use that same luxurygroupins.com. I own that domain. Facebook, LG Insurance Agency. And we're located in West Long Branch, but we're licensed in 17 states to do business for both personal, professional, and commercial insurance purposes.
That's great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure.
It was great to see you, and it was a pleasure to have you.